to myself is fine, but I can't listen to my own voice.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
So let's get this started. So I'm going to talk about Calvinism and Arminianism. This is a very interesting subject, and it can be kind of controversial, but I'm trying to put this in like a different row so it's not controversial. And if I get a little bit controversial,
Yell at you.
yell at me. Yes, yell at me. And I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes. So I reorganized my speech yesterday, and it took like 20 minutes for me to do. Because I was thinking, like, how do I want to order like the 5 points of each? Do I want to start with Arminianism, then go on to Calvinism? Because like the dude who like wrote like the 5 points his name's called Jacobus Arminius, and I was like, that's so cool, Jacobus. Then I was like, I'm gonna start with Arminianism. Then I was like, wait, but Calvinism came before Arminianism, so if I do it chronologically, I'll start with Calvinism. And then I remember last class we were talking about how people forget things you say when you talk about a thing for a long time. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe if I talk about either one of them first, you're going to forget what I talked about. So I'm going to do like a side-by-side comparison. You see, this is really awesome. I worked like 20 minutes on my side-by-side comparison yesterday. So, all right. So the 5 basic points of Calvinism is total depravity, which is like the basis on Calvinism. It's total depravity, which is God predestined everything. Before the earth was made, he kind of like scheduled everything out in his schedule book. So it was like, on this time of this day, this thing's going to happen. And nothing's going to stop this thing from happening because this thing's going to happen. So it's like he has got this like big, thick book of everything. But on the other hand, Arminians teach free will. This is their basis, which means like God, he plans around what he knows we're going to choose. And like, you can kind of hear like, it's not a big difference between the two because it's on the basis that God knows everything, and he created everything, and he's like omnipotent, omnipresent, but the basis it's totally different, but the change is just a very kind of slight change, and it changes everything, and that kind of sucks because it's like I don't know, like it's like you measure something like 2 inches off. Or like 1 inch off, and it totally ruins your whole project or something. And the second point, it's unconditional election. Well, that's taught by the Calvinists, which is before the earth was made, God unconditionally chose those that he was going to save. So it's kind of like God in his schedule book was like, this person is going to be saved this day on this time because I chose this person to be saved at this time and this day. While as on the other hand, Arminians teach conditional election, which is God gave everyone the chance to choose him. Like God gave people the chance on their own free will to choose him instead of planning everything out. So this is once again based on the belief of free will, which is like everyone can choose which way to go, and God knows what their free will is going to be and plans around that. Third point, which is universal atonement, and that is taught. Oh no, wait, it's limited atonement. See, now I'm all backwards because I practiced like my speech like 50 times, like without the side-by-side comparison. Now I'm totally messed up everywhere. So, it's limited atonement is taught by Calvinists, which is predestined salvation, which means God chose the people who he's going to save. So, which means if he didn't choose you, you have to be saved. Which is like a weird way to put it, but that's... See, like all of these, like 5 points, there's like a long footnote in like all of them. So if you were to read like the real doctrines, it would be like point 1, and then like the point would be like short. And then the footnotes would be like 5 pages long, but there's like unlimited footnotes on like each one of these points. And I'm not gonna get into that because that gets weird. On the other hand, Arminians teach universal atonement, which means God died for all people, not just the people he chose. Which means you can choose to select God or choose not to select God. Once again, based on free will. Fourth point, second to last point. See, I'm almost there. Is irresistible grace, which means grace is for all people, which means we can all choose. Oh wait, grace is for all people, but salvation is for those that God chooses. And if God chooses you to be saved, you're going to be saved. And God chooses you to accept his grace, you're going to accept his grace, and whether you like it or not. See, I'm looking out, and people are just like staring at me like I'm crazy. It's just like I'm not crazy. I did like hours and hours of research of like this stuff, and like all these points I'm like bluntly putting it because there's like so many footnotes, and it's crazy. On the other hand, Arminians teach resistible grace, which means we can either choose to be with God or we can choose not to be with God. Bluntly put. And last point. Last point is perseverance of all saints, and that's taught by Calvinists, which means it's like once saved, always saved. That means if you really accept and you really follow God, you're always going to be saved. Or maybe you didn't really follow God, you just kind of faked it, I guess, to a way to put it. And but Arminians teach that you can choose God. You can legitimately be saved and then lose your salvation. Which is like you can follow Jesus, and then like 2 minutes before you die, you'd be like, I don't like this anymore, and turn away from Jesus. And it's very interesting. So I've reached like the epitome, the apex of my speech, which is my personal opinion. I just listed like facts, very bluntly put, on each of the sides, and this is my personal part, because it's a personal opinion speech. Okay, no. All right. But keep in mind this. This is like a homegrown debate. It's not like Christians versus Muslims. It's like all these people are like technically Christians. They're all like in the Christian faith, but they're arguing against themselves, like which one is right and which one's not right. This is my opinion. I'm going to put it this way. Calvinists say 1 times 2 times 3 equals 6, and Arminians say 1 times 3 times 2 equals 6. And they start arguing, it's like, no, you're wrong. It's 1 times 2 times 3 equals 6. And then they're like, oh, no, you're wrong. It's 1 times 3 times 2 equals 6. But the thing is, it all equals 6. So it doesn't matter how you get there if you get the right answer. I mean, like in math, they're like, oh, I want to see it work. And I mean, like, if you get the right answer and you do it kind of right, you still get the right answer. I mean, it's not like it's not like they're saying 1 times 2 times 3 equals 5. Or like 1 times 2 times 3 equals 7. Because like some views should separate us. There's 41,000 denominations, and that includes like the Mormon Church. And they're technically considered Christians because they're under the 41,000 denominations of Christianity. Like I said, some views should separate us and some views shouldn't. If you think 1 times 2 times 3 equals 6, and you think that 1 times 3 times 2 equals 6, it all equals 6. So we can be buds. But if you think 1 times 2 times 3 equals 5, we might need to talk a little bit and discuss why you might think 1 times 2 times 3 equals 5. You might be, I don't know, you might be adding instead of multiplying. No,
that would be
that would
6.
Be 6.
Are you wrapping up?
I am wrapping up.
Okay.
Yes, I'm very soon wrapping up. But I mean, that is my personal. It doesn't really matter which side you're on, as long as you love Jesus and you follow him, because at the end it's the same result. Do you kind of get what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.